And we're back. Stripe Show podcast on a Tuesday. I'm your host, Travis Fulton. Thank you for tuning in. Our man, he is on site, third consecutive week. We are working him. We are working him right now, man, folks. This is 3 weeks in a row, and he's in LA, and he gets off the plane, and finally the sunshine. Please tell me the sunshine, some heat was out. Keith Stewart, our man from LA, on site. How you doing? You hanging in there?
Man, it's been a test. It's been a war of attrition the last 2 weeks, going from a natural disaster to I guess a disaster altogether out there in the desert. I don't know how else to put it. I was fearing for my safety at times on Saturday. I mean, I've never seen a volume of people that large. You know, I think they said it was like around 400,000 people snuck their way in there. Like how do 400,000 people sneak anywhere? Anyway. Let's move on.
Well, it was I'm happy. We can't quite move on yet because I've got a couple things here on in Phoenix.
Right,
you were there, and yeah, I mean it was the perfect storm, right? With the weather, and then they're trying to finish up Friday's round on Saturday, and then you got Saturday's tickets coming in, and people waiting around, drinking alcohol, all of it. I mean, you go on Twitter, and yeah, I mean let's face it, it was a shit show with a lot of things that were going on. Zach got to the breaking point. We saw that play out. Billy Horschel, others, I'm sure, are probably feeling like they need to reel this thing in just a little bit. You were on site. Did you get that sense that, hey, we've probably crossed the line here a little bit? I know it was a perfect storm with the weather and all that, but if we're going to kind of maintain and at least have some of the top players coming, which I don't think really matters to those people anyway, who's playing. I mean, you and I could be out there playing golf and they'd be heckling us and having just as good a time. But you get the sense from the players, you got to reel it in just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where like momentum kind of builds. My take on it would have been that they basically wanted this thing to happen. Year after year after year. And then when you had this perfect storm, and it really wasn't even the weather, although Saturday was the only like truly nice afternoon. But by afternoon, you couldn't even get in the place. They had trouble, scanning tickets. So the volunteers at the gate were basically being overrun. So they were just kind of like, hey, go in, like they didn't stop anybody. And they had no idea how many people were in there or weren't in there. And then, you have to remember, so I brought this up before when we talk about the betting aspects of golf. The PGA Tour is the only professional league. So you think about like MLB, NHL, NBA, all of the NFL, right? That doesn't limit liquor sales. So if you show up I can't tell you how many times I've been out for like a 7:30 tee time and there's like, women in sundresses and guys in like bro shirts, like drinking White Claws, and I'm like, all right, where are they at 8 p.m. tonight? Cause I'm still here, but like, so it's an interesting development and, mob rules kind of apply. I mean, there's a lot of events where people yell. I mean, I guess the best analogy I can give you is that people just don't ever stop yelling anything the whole time. And I'm a bit of a traditionalist when it comes to golf, but I love new innovative things. But at some point, like, you shouldn't be yelling in people's backswings, or you shouldn't say things that are like, degrading to their family or anything like that, it's like literally, it's like chimneys going off. One guy yells over here and then a lady yells over here. And then like, everyone thinks it's okay to yell. And then, you obviously you put the alcohol on top of that and people make poor life decisions. And it's like, I hate to say it, it's just like, and the roof blew off the thing, too many people, too much booze. They couldn't get them to leave. So they shut everything off, including the food. And that helped a little bit, but at the end of the day, there was probably 40,000 people that broke their way into the arena that were around 16 by the afternoon. It was an S show for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it was the energy. You could feel it coming through the TV. And look, they got a great thing going there. I mean, it's the People's Open. Oh, yeah. They're going to push the limits. I get it. I think it's great for the game in the end and all that. I totally get it. It feels like this year they got to reel it in a little bit, figure some things out. Obviously the weather didn't play into that, but factor that into next year. The funny thing is then you watch Live, which finished up on Saturday, and here they are in Vegas. And I watched a lot of it, and you've got a great pairing that you've paid darn near $1 billion for in Jon Rahm, Dustin Johnson, and Bryson DeChambeau. And DJ, of course, gets the win there in Vegas. And You know, they're selling this thing like, you know, it's packed and there's 23 people deep around 18 and this and that. I mean, look, there were probably a couple hundred people following them around, which is fine. And so like I watched that, and yet I'm being sold like this is great. Yet you have $1 billion investment in 3 players, and you've got 200 people watching them, you know, around the golf course. So it's just like all these things. There's a lot of things in golf like that don't make sense. Right. And that's one of them. And Liv, of course, would sign up for Waste Management in a heartbeat. Like they would take, you know, 25% of those people and they would feed them more alcohol and like, yeah, let's get crazy and wild every single week. And so like you're trying to filter all that through it. And that leads me to the next thing that doesn't make sense to me at all. All right. Because we're going to transition here to Tiger's tournament. Sure. And that is, okay, so just help me understand.
Where are we going?
Help me understand.
I think I know where you're going.
What I'm looking at, okay, with this launch yesterday in LA. Sunday red. And, okay, there's the logo.
Yeah.
Do you remember, you know, when I first saw this, you know what I thought of? Do you remember the game Operation?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
When you had all these pieces that were, sure, you know, in the heart and these legs and bones and like you're trying to, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what that reminds me of when I look at that.
Yeah.
That logo. And then they're telling me there's, okay, for 15 majors, there's 15 lines. Tell me where the 15 lines are, Keith. Tell me.
I don't know. You know, when it comes to branding and everything, I mean, there's a million things I could say here, but like when I see an apple, I know what it means. When I see a swoosh, I know what it means. I mean, how do you not, I mean, by like through osmosis or something, you know, like pick up something from Nike's branding people and marketing. I don't know. It seems like the split of the sun and the day, the stripes and how many stripes there are, the Slazenger cat there. I mean, I don't know. You know, I mean, there's just a lot going on there. And the clothing, I mean, all right. So at the end of the day, everyone will probably just adopt the logo and they'll probably get rid of the random letters and everything. And it'll end up being that tiger looking cat, which I think is kind of cool. I mean, that's great and everything, but the clothing itself doesn't distinguish itself in any set way. It kind of looks like, I don't know, if Stephen Malbon and Peter Millar had a kid, you know, like I don't, it's like, it's kind of like a mess between the two. And sometimes you got to pick your lane, you know, and you know, I'm not quite sure what's going on there. I mean, I would love a cashmere hoodie, but I mean, I would love a cashmere hoodie. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, that thing doesn't look like it has any gauge to it. Yeah, I'm a clothes whore. What do you want from me? Like, I understand what it means. You know, that sweater doesn't look anything like the sweater that I'm wearing. You know, nor would Cashmere Keith Mitchell wear it. No. You know, like, and you know, like the Tiger shirt down there is good for the casino. Maybe Tiger Jam in Vegas. I don't know, man. Maybe it's not even for golf. Who knows?
Look at this, but look at the stitching on the bottom right. And let's just start there. Okay, so you got the logo, and it's not even centered with the button, and it's different shade. I look at this. I'm not a fashion expert. I'm not at all branding. I feel like my brand, you know, my logo is pretty cool and spent a lot of time into it and didn't overthink it and this and that. But this is Tiger freaking Woods, right? Who's coming from Nike, the absolute gold standard in branding and marketing. Can you just, like you said, through osmosis, maybe a phone call, just, you know, any direct, and you come out with this and then you follow it up with this? I mean, like Peter Millar and others in the backdrop have to be like, perfect.
Yeah, we're good.
You guys nailed it.
Next startup. Who's the next challenger? Yeah. Oh, I get it. I mean, I when I saw the debut and you know, all the hype videos and everything, and you know, I wish them well, and millions of people will buy it when it comes out in May. I feel like, man, they're trying a little too hard.
They're too hard. Yeah, that's just it. Like you're watching the Super Bowl and these commercials, and they're not funny. You know, like they're trying to be fun. Like I don't understand what's going on. If people are trying too hard, if there's a lack in talent in these particular areas and creativity and humor, and like I just feel like we're kind of losing our way here a little bit in a lot of different ways. And like none of this shit makes sense anymore. None of it.
Well,
none of it.
I mean, if you want to get into it, it's a societal thing. You know, if you cancel everything that everyone says, you're going to limit creativity. And I mean, this is obviously, there's not a lot of creativity here. You know, for all we know, that little label could have been slapped on that red shirt an hour before it got put on that mannequin. You know,
Here's what I want. I want someone to show me the 15 lines. I need someone to show me the 15 lines and where that is. Those are, you know, those, see that there's that bottom right leg. It was like in that operation game. That was a tough one to get out.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's like the spine. Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, it looks like a cross.
It looked like Schlesinger's old. Anyway,
yeah,
I can't take.
I mean,
we got to get.
Looks like a cross between a hair clip and a back scratcher. I
can't get out of this. All right, it's time to transition. Let's go to Cal. I got a little something.
Cash some tickets.
I got a little something to switch the mood. Little Cali, ready?
All right. What do you got?
I'm not gonna.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Good transition to the Super Bowl. Ranking halftime shows. Usher was cool. I like Usher. He's cool.
I was watching the playoff at the WMPO.
Huh?
I was at the playoff at the WMPO. It was still going on at halftime. Unbelievable.
All right. I tried to sell you a Nick Taylor last week, by the way, too.
Hey.
I took you right up to it. I was like, he was second. He likes this course. And I'll tell you what, man. Let me tell you something about Nick Taylor, and then we'll get to
I got something for you and Nick Taylor too. Okay. So you start.
He's a sneaky approach game player, right? Like he doesn't get enough credit for how good his iron game is and his wedge. And I know he kind of came out of nowhere and he won that. But dude, that dude sniffs the lead. And like he's like, I got a chance to win late on a Sunday. I mean, watch out. This guy is built for the dramatic. And I was like back and forth, you know, with the Super Bowl, and the crowds were awesome. That's one thing there. I mean, the Super Bowl started. You guys are still there around 18. I mean, people are going crazy. That was cool, you know, rivaling the Super Bowl. But Nick Taylor, 5 birdies in the last 6. He's a dog now on late on a Sunday. That dude needs to come out with some Sunday red. That dude needs to come up with something that his own logo and launch that baby on late on a Sunday. He's fun down the stretch.
You should have seen, you want to talk about Sunday red. You should have seen the Canadians going absolutely berserk, right? They might've been the only people that were left there because everyone else cleared out to go watch the Super Bowl somewhere. And I tell you now, there's a couple things we need to talk about here.
Okay.
Because if we rewind the tapes back to the beginning of the year, you said this was going to be Scotty's year. Right. And it still could be. Don't get me wrong. John Rahm won 4 times by the Masters, didn't do anything after that. So the season has ebbs and flows. I get all that. But what's going on with this guy? Right. I walked with him on Sunday. He's the #1 player in the world. He had the lead. He took the lead from the field and then he gave it back. He 3-putts a par 5 to make par. Then he can't get up and down on the next hole, misses another putt inside 5.5 feet. Then the next hole's a par 5, chips it up there to 5 feet, loops the hole. Wait a second. Okay. We're talking about Tiger a lot this week. You put him in the lead. That guy's a trained killer. You know, when he had the real Sunday red on. I mean, like, what are we doing here? And I think 6 weeks in a row, we have long shots win. I mean, the field smells blood. The books smell blood. Look at the way the week opened. There was 8 guys below 20-1 on the betting board when we started on Monday. That means the books don't even have any faith in these guys. Yeah, they're going to put Scotty at 5-1 and Rory at 9-1 or whatever because they have to. But like, it's a big mess at the top. And I can't understand why someone's not like, who's going to be the guy? This is what we need to figure out. Because if someone's going to stop this long shot streak this week, who's going to be the guy that steps up and has the stones to finish this thing off like Nick Taylor did last week? You're talking about Scotty 5 or 6 wins. Nick Taylor, he birdied 5 of the last 6, and he made 3 putts in a row to extend and then win. I'm fired up about this because, like, who's going to be the guy at the top? I'm tired of talking about Homa and Morikawa and all these guys, and And every time we usher them up and put them on a podium, that we're not getting there right now. What is going on in golf? Is it too much confusion between the leagues and distractions and everything? But like, man, oh man, as far as I'm concerned, it's going to be really tough to get a guy that's not 100-1 to win this week.
You bring up some valid points. Let me filter through that a little bit. You've got
Sorry, my rant.
Let me answer this first. You asked the question, where are these guys distracted with, people leaving? And I think they are. I mean, there's got to be some distraction. I don't know how there can't be. With guys going to live and that conversation. And then you got this investment program coming out. The top 36 get 750 million. And then the next, they're trying to, there's more questions about that than there are answers. I saw Rex Hargan on Golf Channel, and he's like, I've never had so many players texting me for answers. Like, that's what I'm saying. It goes back to what I said in the opener. Like, nothing makes sense anymore, and even when you launch something like the PGA Tour did and said, hey, here's what we're going to do to take care of our players. Like, they launch it and none of the players even know what the hell that even means. And they're texting people at Golf Channel to try to figure out what that means. And so there's so many questions. There's more questions than answers. I can't imagine the level of frustration that there is, even though that you got guys on live being overpaid to play. And then you've got all this extra money being invested into the PGA Tour. So they're making even more money. And so, there's a lot of money in there, and maybe I should just keep my mouth shut and this and that. But like, you're just trying to figure out what the hell's going on, all this fragmentation. Anyway, I think that's number one. So I do think it affects them.
Good point.
Number two, look, we've talked about Scotty. I've done a lot of stuff with Scotty. I've had a lot of pushback and people reaching out to me about some of the things that I've said about Scotty and his putting. I think that, Scotty is, when you look at him and the changes that he's made with his putting, if I had to make the changes and set a particular player up a certain way, that's what I would do. And he's went down that path. There's been a lot of thought that has gone into that path for him to make those changes. I think that he has putted very well at times, just like he did before. And then he seems to have that short miss. And why does that short miss? And then maybe it seems to linger a little bit as well. So I think he's committed to where he is. I think he's got to get a little more consistent, obviously, with those shorter putts, because look, a player starts missing shorter putts, which he was doing before as well, right? He would miss some shorter putts. And so, this is the decision he's made. And I think he's got to continue to go down this path now. And he's got to clean up some of those short putts. And as he starts to eliminate some of those shorter putts, I do think that he has probably seen some positive signs in some of the other areas, and get this thing out of his mind and start to build some consistency with that flat stick, because because obviously that's what's missing him right now. You watch him hit the golf ball and it's absurd. Like, he is absurd with his iron game.
You don't need to tell me. I watch it live. He never misses. Never. Never. It reminds me of back in the day watching Tiger practice at Isleworth. The guy just doesn't miss. He doesn't. Don't even think about him missing. It's not going to happen.
No, it's unbelievable. I texted it, or tweeted it out twice. Like, he's got an iron in his hand and it's inside 15 feet. I mean, it's ridiculous how and he works it low, high. He's hitting different shots.
Oh yeah.
His feet are all over the place. I mean, it's just beautiful to watch off the tee. The guy never misses a damn fairway. Hits it out there 305, 10 yards. He'll throw it up in the air and it'll stay up there for, 20 seconds, or you hit that little low screaming fade. It is like Tiger-esque, seriously. From a ball striking standpoint. I believe this, that he'll clean it up. And when he does, I don't think my prediction is in the weeds yet. And I say that because of everything that I just said before, right? Like, he is that much better of a ball striker than everybody else. It is absolutely absurd. Oh, by the way, he's a pretty damn good short game player. All right, here's the last time we're going to look at this. Okay, let's move on. All right.
All right, we got to move, because I can talk about the Scotty thing. It's mind blowing to me. Anyway.
All right, let's get there. We're at the Genesis Riviera, one of the more respected golf courses, of course, on the PGA Tour.
Absolutely.
You know, you look at this, obviously, Rahm won here last year. He's not here. Neiman the year before that, he's not here. Homa in 21. Adam Scott's won here a couple times. Look, this is, I did a little research. I don't want to steal any thunder here, but obviously you got to handle the POA. You know, these are different greens. You got to handle these kinds of greens. The approach game we know is huge here. A lot of 150 to 200 yard shots. Give my audience some insight here, Keith, on about this old school golf course and the type of player that we're looking at here.
Well, I tell you, you're talking about probably year after year the best, most well-designed golf course that these guys play on the PGA Tour every season. You know, it's not it has hosted major championships, but year after year, it's not a major championship venue, and it's certainly competitive on a statistical level with those venues that we'll see later this year in the Big Four. And one of the things, I mean, it's just when you look at the last 10 winners and where their gains are against the field, it's almost, it comes across like it's muted. It's like, well, is it a lot of approach or is it a lot of putting? Is it? And it's like, you have to be so well balanced to win here. And that's why one of the greatest comp courses here is Augusta National Golf Club. You know, 28 of the last 31 winners at Riviera have finished 22nd or better at Augusta at some point in their career. And look at the people that have won here. I mean, the only anomaly is Tiger with 5 green jackets, that he's never played well here and hasn't had a top 10 since 2004. But like everybody else, Bubba, Phil, DJ, I mean, they've all played well here. You know, Adam Scott, it's Rahm last year, then he went on to win the Masters, but he was always good at the Masters, right? It's a similar skill set. You have to be a great golfer. You have to be so well-rounded. There's 37 acres of fairway. 12 of the 14 holes bend off the tee. It's very difficult to hit the fairways. Then you end up in the Kikuyu rough. Then you don't hit greens. You know, it's one of the top 5 lowest greens for accuracy at hitting greens regulation on tour every year. So then, of course, what's that do? It puts pressure on your short game. The short game, well, the greens are very undulating and they're POA. So you get all these putts between 5 and 10 feet that you need to save par or score on a par 5. And you need to make those. So like, did we miss anything? We check all the boxes, you know, like these 11 par 4s, the last 4 par 4s on the back 9 average 475 yards in length. This place got 8 inches of rain or more last week, right? The stuff that was in San Fran with me went down here, then it went out to the desert, went to Vegas where all the rain was, right? This place, it's not nearly as wet as it was last week or the week before, but I've been out there. It's soft, right? Like it's going to play the 7,300 yards. And, you know, power is going to be an edge here. And certainly you have to be super well-rounded, and you got to, the edges are going to come in par 4 scoring, approaches over 200 yards, and bogey avoidance. If you're doing those things, then your card is going to be full of contenders.
Yeah, I like that. I think the distance, long par 4s, right? Like you talked about, like being able to bust that driver out there, soft fairways, that's going to be huge. And, you know, look, as we transition to the board here, let's not even go to the top of the board. Let's get right after it here with a first look. I'm going to give you. What do you got?
Sam Burns.
Oh, wow. Okay. You're gonna keep the momentum going with my boy Sammy Burns.
Feel the burn, right? I went JT last week. You have every reason to go JT again, except the fact he putts like Scotty, and I'm going with Burns. Burns he's been really good. Last 3 starts, top 10s. He could putt POA. He could putt in general. And his approach game last week, shot 64 on Sunday, 4 rounds in the 60s in really what wasn't a great week for playing. I mean, talk to me. He's got 5. He's played there 5 times. He's got a top 3 finish in 2021. You know, he was the name that came out of nowhere that was in that top 5, and everyone's like, man, Sam Burns. And then he went on to win the Sanderson like a year later. And it was the same type of thing with Cam Young, when everyone's like, oh, Cam Young came in runner up there or whatever, right? And then went on to bigger and better things. But Burns is ready to come back, I feel like, and take care of business. And at least at the top, I know he can putt. man, I watched so many guys last week on perfect greens not putt well.
Mm-hmm.
And Sammy Burns finished third, and he did, and Nick Taylor putted great, and obviously you saw the results there.
Well, I think when you look at Sam Burns, he's playing great right now. There's no doubt. I mean, we got what is it? 3 top 10s in the last 3 weeks. Yeah, 6th at American Express, 10th at AT&T, 3rd at Waste Management. That might be the best he's ever driven the golf ball last week. Positive 6.5 total driving. That's the club that I get a little worried about with Burns. From time to time, he'll get a little crooked with the driver, but he seems to be dialed in right now with the driver. The reality is he plays exactly like he did last week. Maybe get up and down one more time, maybe 2, and he win. I mean, like he's right there. He's showing that form. I like Sam Burns a lot, and he's really playing some consistent golf. I'm going to give you.
What do you got for me?
My first look, I'm probably gonna surprise you here just a little bit. I'm gonna go to Morikawa. The softer conditions concern me a little bit. You know, is he long enough? Right.
You know what?
14th at AT&T. We saw him earlier, 5th at the Century. Of course, he got the win back at Zozo. I like the work he's doing. I think with Blackburn, I think he's trying to just kind of settle in right now to the kind of golf that Colin Morikawa knows how to play. California, we know he can handle those types of conditions. Look, he was 6th last year at the Genesis. He was 2nd in 2022. And as I was looking through this, and I factor everything that I saw at the AT&T where he finished 14th, and it wasn't even the same version of Morikawa with his iron game. I think his putter is always is a question mark, although he's putted pretty darn well here. Like, this is a place where the flat stick has shown up. He was positive 2.4 in 2023. He was positive 6.8 in 2022. So he's had success on these greens. I'm gonna go with Morikawa and hope the fairways kind of dry out just a little bit so it doesn't play quite as long. That's my guy. First look. Shoot holes.
I honestly think you'd be fine on the length.
Okay.
I do. You know, there's so many dog legs and certain holes the guys play to position anyway. There's a lot of long approaches here. And he's a guy that can separate from, 180, 190, 200 yards plus on approach. My biggest question mark with Morikawa would be the around the green acumen. And he's been gaining lately. He's made small strides. So under pressure, there's 32 greenside bunkers here. The bunkers always seem to come into play in some way late in the weekend. And that might be my only question mark there. But I mean, Colin's a solid pick here. I can't argue much against that, other than the fact that everyone at the top just seems like they're like just not putting.
Well, that's just it. Like, okay, so let's go up there. I mean, Scheffler, right? He's already now at 14 to 1. Do you trust him on these greens? I mean, he's going to do everything else. And it just feels like, it just does feel like that there's going to be a moment where it's going to come together and he is going to go positive 4 or 5, with the flat stick, and he's going to win by 7. Like, it's going to happen. Does it happen here? I'm going to say no. But there's Rory, at 18. Can he come in here and win? Where are we at with Victor Hovland? I mean, do you have any concern with Hovland in what we've seen? 22nd at the Century. He was 58th at the Pebble. 58th at Pebble. We've only seen him 2 times at this point. Do you have a lot of confidence in Victor Hovland at 20 or 22 to 1?
No, I'm fading Victor at the top. He'd be the number 1 name that I would fade. And that's a lot based upon being out here and seeing his body language and his practice regimen. And, we don't get injury reports out on the PGA Tour, so the fact that I'm out here and I have live PGA eyes on this stuff, and maybe, that's why he took the week off last week. Maybe he needed some healing. Victor's a world-class talent, so he could bring it back, but the trend there was not good. And I don't know what it is. I don't have any insights there, but from my eyes, I could tell you that him playing at Pebble was not his best. And he lives in Vegas, and it was a big week in Vegas last week. So I don't know. Did you get a lot of practice time in? You got me.
All right, so
I don't know.
Yeah, so you keep coming down. There's Schauffele. We know he's probably, he's going to be in the top 20, this week. And can he do enough to get up there and win? I don't know. I'm kind of lukewarm on Xander. I already gave you my case for Colin Morikawa, who's at 25. There's just not a lot of stuff that's standing out saying, yeah, this guy is going to run away with this thing, and he's gonna, he is the clear deciding favorite of this tournament. Justin Thomas, all right, he's at 22, 25. We're seeing good signs. You and I have talked about him a lot, over the last 2 or 3 weeks. I like what I'm seeing out of JT. 12th at Waste Management, 6th at AT&T, 3rd at the American Express, certainly looking like the same JT that we've seen in years past.
He was the #1 fan-supported player out at the Phoenix Open.
Wow. Okay.
Hands down. Scotty would have been #2 as JT faded off on Sunday. But JT, I walked more holes with anybody than with anybody else than it was with JT, right? And he played with Cam Young for pretty much the whole week. And so I saw those guys play a ton of golf, and boy, they were striking the ball beautifully, and then neither one could putt. It was like a contest. And seems to be a common theme now at the top. And if 100-1 winners are going to win, right, and all these long shots are going to win, then I think we really need to start to pay attention to the fact that ball striking only gets you so far.
Yeah,
there needs to be some element of scoring savvy, and we haven't seen it out of these top guys, right? Whether it's the X-Man and his putter, obviously we've talked about the other guys. Rory, Rory's never played great. I think he has a 4th here, but Rory's never really let the driver go here at Riviera. And maybe it's just not a good fit for him. I don't know. Like I said, I'll go back to the books. The books know, right? When you have like 7, 8 guys that are all favorites because they're all under 20-1 to start the week. That's to me says a lot.
Yeah.
That means that they're all they're hedging their liability, right? So for me, it's like it's tough to find a guy at the top of the board that really who wants to be the man.
JT seems as logical as anybody up there. Adam Scott's won here twice. His ball striking has been pretty damn solid. We know, Ludwig. How are we pronouncing this? Because I've heard like 7 different pronunciations. Oberg, Aberg, Iberg. What is it? Where are we at with this guy?
If Oberg? I try really hard, it's Aubert, but I always say
it's Aubert. Yeah, Aubert. Aubert. Okay.
I'm from New Jersey. I butcher the language. So
it's his first time there. We're gonna put the bank on him. Cantley's struggling right now. He's trying to find his game. Speaking of a chilly putter, Finau's probably got the chilliest putter of anybody out there. Jordan Spieth, we got all the way down to 30-1. His iron game, what happened there last week with his iron game? Air melon greens, and his driver was actually pretty solid for the most part. Homa's kind of trying to find his game to start. You're right. There's just a lot of question marks. At the top of the board, it just feels, wide open. And so, it kind of,
what's been happening?
It kind of makes you then, right, like want to drive the bus more down to the middle of the board. And apparently to this point, like we do on this show, we haven't been just driving the bus far enough down the board. Right? Because we've been spending a lot of time in the middle of the board, but we got to keep driving down to the bottom of the board. So without further ado, let me see if I can sell you, buddy, on the bottom of the board here, buddy. You ready? Chase Johnson, 350-1. Can you? All right.
I'm not going to jump. I'm not going to jump on the Charlie Sifford.
Okay. Chase, Seamus Power. There he is. He's at, 125. Grayson Murray, he won earlier this year. Maybe we'll bet him, right? He's 125. Lee Hodges. Sam Ryder, for crying out loud, from 150 to 200 yards. Show me someone better than Sam Ryder at 100-1. Maybe I should put my money there.
Hey, Sam Ryder, he has like 2 straight top 25 finishes there. So in 6K land of DFS and, in placements, there's no top 40s this week. Maybe you could stretch a top. You could probably get a positive number on a top 30 on Sam Ryder. There you go.
Yeah.
Tiger opened the week at 200-1 to win. right? He's right in that ballpark of all of our winners. He's like at 175 now.
I know it.
You know, you can't take him to make the cut because with 71 players and top 50 in ties, and you got to be within 10 strokes of the lead, there basically is no cut. But you know, can Tiger beat half the field?
Yes. Yes.
He's 2-1. You get positive, but you get 2-1 on him in the top 30.
Yeah, I believe he can.
Right? There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Bet that. But up there at the top, I mean, if we want to talk about, we can talk about triple digits all day. So I flew from Phoenix over here yesterday. Who's in my row other than Christian Bezuidenhout, right? Mm-hmm. Guy played awesome last week.
He did. Yep.
South Africans love Kikuyu grass, right?
He's sitting
enough? It like,
is he long enough?
I don't think.
That's the only question here, probably, with Bezuidenhout.
Yeah, I mean, he's not as good as Morikawa with his irons to not be long enough. That's true. But, I mean, stranger things have happened.
No, of course. We've been watching it for a couple of months now. I mean, this is absurd. I mean, that's why I'm down here scrolling at the bottom of the board here with, because we're driving the truck all the way down. There's JJ Spawn, Nick Hardy, Woodland, Smalley, Dunlop, Lucas Glover, right? Speaking of great ball striking. Charlie Hoffman's down here at 90-1. Charlie Hoffman should have won the event last week. He seems healthy. That was awesome to see one of the good guys up there in Charlie Hoffman almost winning his sponsors tournament.
Triple digits. I'm going back to Jersey Mike's, my Jersey Mike's story. Tom Hoagie hit the ball so good last week.
Yeah, Hoagie's the man.
So good.
I agree.
And he's won on POA before. He won at Pebble a couple years ago. The way he's striking the ball right now, he's got to be on your placement card. And he's the type of guy that definitely could just do it. You know, I'm going to feature him on my outright card.
I see Hoagie at around 87 right now. I think I'm an odds checker. He's been bet down. I mean, Luke List is a guy that can throw it out there long. I mean, I don't know if I'm.
Missed the cut last week. Bad bogey.
Yeah.
You know. Hey, you know who's been playing good that's up in that range that can strike it well is Emiliano Grado, and he's been putting it good. He's been putting it better than he's almost been ball striking it. Harry English is down there. Harry English could quietly just go win this thing. 100%. 100%.
And is Harry's iron game good enough here?
I mean, was Matthew Pavon's good enough at Farmers?
Yeah. Fair point.
Fair point.
Yeah.
I mean, so like when we really get into this, like this is the type of place like Scottsdale that's extremely predictive. Look at the top of that leaderboard. Look at the guys that were good there. Thigala, right? He was third place like 3 years ago. Then you had Nick Taylor. Guy was runner up. Then he came back. You know, like the Riviera is going to be the same way, right? We talked about the comp course with Augusta National, but like you need multiple times to play here. And, you know, it helps to have the experience of getting around this place because the greens sit at funny angles and there's multiple lines you could take off the tee and you have to figure out which one works for you. There's a lot of strategy involved in this golf course. And that's why it stood the test of time. And with it being a little bit softer, it's going to play a little bit more difficult this week because it'll play a little bit longer. I mean, these are some of the largest greens on tour and people don't hit them. Players hit an average of 55% of the greens in regulation here, which is like 8% below tour average. That's a lot. That's a lot. And it's tough to hit fairways here. There's only 37 acres of fairway. It's tough to hit fairways here. And then they start bending. 12 of the 14 bend with dog legs. It's really one of those places where you've got to look at who's really striking the ball well right now and putting well. Because there's a lot of guys striking the ball great. I saw it for the last 2 weeks. And they're not putting well. JT could have won. JT or Scotty could have won that thing by 5 if their putter worked.
I want to say one thing about JT's putting. All right. And I just want this. I want this to happen so bad where when he gets up there and he's lined up, I want him to take one look and hit it. I would love to see JT just play for like a month doing that. You know, he just like it's moving in the right direction. He's finding his game again. But you ever get the feeling with JT? It's like everything's got to be. It's in his mind. It's just check mark. Like you know, and it's shoulder, it's wrist, it's finger, it's breathing, it's nose, it's ear.
I don't know.
And then it's when he gets to and then it's go. Man, like sometimes I just take a look and hit it, and like just be instinctive. Like it almost feels like he's trying to make it too perfect with his putting setup and his putting stroke. But again, JT moving in the right direction. He's kind of dug it out of the dirt. I don't know if he's working with his dad or if he's just doing it on his own. I mean, you look at the guys that are playing well. The guys just seem to be kind of doing it on their own. JT, and Sahith Thegal is out there just freewheeling it. I like Sahith this week. Wyndham Clark, obviously continuing to play great golf. Can he keep it going here this week? We know he's got the length.
And he's got the LA vibe.
And he's got the LA vibe. It seems like his putter now. He's got some confidence with some of the work that he's been doing there. And
I'm surprised.
Gosh, middle of the board. I mean, there's Wyndham. I mean, real quick, I'll give you one more name to maybe shoot a hole through here. I kind of keep coming back to Kitayama. Like I kind of like I feel like Kitayama's rolling back into form here a little bit. Like he's just, the putter finally woke up last week, Keith. The putter finally woke up last week.
Yeah.
And so can he come in here and continue to hit the driver the way he's been hitting it and get this thing to, 16, 17, 18 under par? I don't know. He's a guy to look at. I haven't bet it yet, but should I?
I don't know. He's a roller coaster guy.
Yeah.
It's tough to peg him.
60 to 1.
Yeah. I'm really surprised you haven't brought up a name yet. And especially since Australians tend to play very well at Riviera. I'm really surprised you haven't brought up a name.
I was getting there.
You've already been to hundreds.
I was getting to Cam. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
He's your guy.
No, take it. No, go ahead. Take it. That people they're tired of hearing me talk about Cam Davis.
He's a blessed ball striker, and he's pretty good with the putter. I mean, the guy, golly, I mean, he had a great stretch run from July until the end of the year, and I think he's definitely somebody who garners attention here. For sure. He's got the skill set necessary to do it. And, when he starts the week around 80 to 1, and then you can see him being bought down. Australians play well here. You have to know how to use the ground at Riviera in order to score, which is not a common trait of golf courses here in the United States, but a very common trait of golf courses outside the U.S., especially in Australia, especially the way that they treat their agronomy and they manage their grounds because they don't like to water a lot. Riv is the same way. It's what makes the design so intricate and so entertaining, especially when it's firm and fast. The best golf is played on the ground. There's no doubt about it. If it's all just target golf, it kind of loses some of its appeal and certainly some of its randomness. I mean, I think that's why, when we go for a couple weeks over to the Opens, the Scottish Open and the Open Championship, we just have so much fun watching the guys be creative on the ground, and why around the green play is such a big part of winning at Riviera. Cam Davis, certainly with the Australian background. Look at Scotty, his background here. Smitty's played well here in the past. I mean, those types of guys are definitely somebody that could get the job done. And I see Cam Davis as one of those guys like a Nick Taylor that could definitely that if he's feeling the flow come Sunday afternoon, isn't going to be afraid.
Yeah, I got Cam Davis. You know that. I think this is a good spot for him. And I'm a sucker for Cam, and it's a no-brainer on spots for me where I think it fits Cam Davis. So yeah, I think you beat me to the punch on getting to him, but you make a lot of good points about Australians. That even pads my case even more with him. Look, he hit his irons great the last time we saw him at AT&T. We know he can putt.
Yeah.
Can he put it together for 4 rounds this week? He's coming in there feeling good about his chances. Missed the cut here last year, but I do think Cam Davis is a much better player right now than he was last year, and I like him here on this venue and the way things are going on the PGA Tour. I think he's at 50 right now. I got him much higher than that. He's been bet way down.
Way down.
I think Cam Davis is a really good look this week. Good points about Grillo. Yeah, Grillo is playing some very nice golf. I just looked him up a little bit. Hoagie is that 100 to 1 kind of guy. I think he's hitting it so good. Can he just somehow get the ball in the hole?
I got a question for you.
Okay.
One guy we haven't talked about. We did talk, well, we touched on him for a second, right? But we kind of just walked away from it. In a year of opposites, you need experience here. Can a rookie, there's 8 rookies that are playing, can a rookie win at Riviera this year?
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, but man, it just seems unlikely at that place, doesn't it?
It seems unlikely, but I feel like I think Ludwig has unfinished business from Pebble.
Look, it wouldn't surprise me. Ludwig, we know he's a rising star. He's got the total package. It's the way he drives the golf ball. I mean, no one's going to be surprised if Ludwig goes out there and wins. I mean, it would be an unbelievable feat to do it for the first time. I don't think I'm going to bet him. Real quick here, just kind of, I'm just pulled up last 24 rounds approach. Gosh, you look at, there's Scheffler, of course, unanimous number 1. There's Hoagie. There he is, 3. I mean, there you go, folks. Strokes and approach. Hoagie 3. Schauffele 4. Guess who's 5? Guess who's 5? Who I mentioned earlier in the show, who's big odds. Sammy Ryder.
Yep.
There's Morikawa 6. Eric Cole 7. Seems unlikely for Cole, doesn't it? Here.
Yeah, the driver. Yes.
Yeah, this doesn't seem like the place for him. Finau 8. Chris Kirk 9. There's Ludwig 10. Right. So Thigala 13. I like Thigala, man.
Thigala's.
I played Thigala. I think that's another. I think he keeps it going. I think his game is really rounding into form. He's a guy. He's a guy, Keith. Given the landscape of professional golf, just how cool he is. He's fun to watch. Little, kind of a little throwback maybe, and he's a guy the PGA Tour is cheering for. They need to elevate that guy. I mean, he's got the total package. I love everything about that dude on and off the course.
It's interesting. That guy has faced a ton of adversity in his life. He was player of the year at Pepperdine, and then COVID hit, right? And he had to deal with that. Then, he had that opportunity to win at, Phoenix Open 3 years ago, and he had to deal with that. Then he really should have won at TPC River Highlands and the Travelers. He triples the last hole, and he had to deal with that. Now he finally won at the Fortinet, right? He's a California kid, local. Can he do it here? I know another kid from California that won at the Fortinet, then kind of launched his way. He had won some other places, but could also win at Riviera. Homa missed the cut last week. Could Thigala be kind of taking over that a little bit of that California role right now? Man, I tell you, Thigala's, man, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but Thigala can putt.
Yeah, he can.
And I want putters this week.
Yeah,
I can't take it. I watched JT so much last week, missed so many putts that I just, and then to watch Scotty's body language, you were playing that song earlier. Na, right? Like when
Dr. Dre.
When Ludwig or Thigala or whatever, when they swagger up on the green, when they've hit it to 20 feet, those guys are just like fixated on the hole. Nick Taylor the other day in that playoff, I was standing right where when he had to hit the shot in close. I was on 18 to the right side of the fairway. I watched him walk by after he hit the shot, and he just nailed the green.
Yeah.
Right. And I go, that guy's making that putt. And I knew it was around 10 feet, but I was like, the look on his face was not the same look that I saw on some of these other guys, which is always like they're confused. And I'm not sure that a lot of times, like when it comes to JT and Scotty, that like we always talk about the stroke or the speed and everything. They may not just read greens very well. I don't know. There's multiple skill sets involved there.
Yeah, there is.
But
yeah,
Nick
doubt.
Taylor had a look like if he was looking across the bar and like you saw him coming, you'd be like, that guy's on a mission, like to do whatever it is he wants to do. And I think that's why I think the closers right now are the guys that can really do it with the flat stick. And my card is going to be littered with them.
Well, strokes and putting. Let's go to it. Last 24 rounds. Taylor Montgomery, no surprise. Guess who number 2 is? Seth.
Yep.
Number 2. Harris English, number 3. Griffin 4. And I'll finish with this guy. My last guy I'll give you is Hogard. He's 5. Yeah. If we had to go down the board, I like Nikolai Hogart. I like this. You know, you look at his game, he's middle of the pack in that 150 to 200 range. Approach. All right. He's got to clean that up a little bit. Like, is he doing enough there?
Good with the wedge, but the long irons
good with the wedge. Yeah, long irons might be an issue here. That's as you look a little deeper. Guy can putt, though. There's Brian Harmon, no surprise, posting. Okay, wait a minute now. Wait a minute. This name's surprising me. Last 24 rounds, strokes gained putting, Adam Scott. Adam Scott's worth a look here, guys. He's won twice, obviously.
Yep.
He can do it again. There's no doubt.
Or if you like Australians and you want to double your money, Cam Davis makes sense to me too.
There you go. Cam Davis.
There you go.
That's already been bet.
All right. Wrap it up.
Christmas. All right, let's wrap it up. I want to see if I can sell you on this bottom, the middle one here. Honestly, though, before we go, would you wear that middle shirt on the bottom?
Just stop.
Would you?
Just stop.
And why? Like, can you not at least get the logo centered with the bottom button? I mean, come on.
Hey,
it's Tiger freaking Woods. Like, what are we doing?
I don't know.
What are we doing? What are we doing? What is this? 15 majors. Oh, got it. Operation. Like, right, that's the femur right there. That was. All right. He's Keith. I'm Travis. Have a great, go get some sun. Wait, go sit outside. Oh, man. Get some sunshine because you guys got some rain coming in over the weekend. So get out of there. Go sit in the sun.
They put me in the dining room. I've been in front of these curtains all morning. Yeah, it's classic.
All right, buddy. Talk to you next week.
All right. Peace.